Hey guys, Phalaris here. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Kindred game from VIT Bo. He is widely considered the best jungler in the LEC at the moment, and he has been on an absolute tear in solo queue in the past couple days, winning 14 straight games. Kindred is his highest win rate champion at over 70%, so I thought it'd be a pretty good time to take a look and see what makes this guy so good. But before I begin, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Porofessor. It's just a nice simple app that has useful components no matter what rank you play at. If you're a newer player, it has solid item and rune recommendations for each champion to get you started. If you're a more experienced player that doesn't need these recommendations, it has jungle camp timers and summoner spell tracking functions. The summoner spell tracking is actually linked up with your team, so if anyone else on your team is also using Porofessor, the spells you track will automatically sync up. If you want to check it out, you can download it for free with the link down below. Okay, let's hop into the gameplay. So we are working with a Sion into Camille top, Graves into Kindred Jungle, Azir into Akali mid, and MF Karma into Draven Janna bot lane. I would expect both junglers to be playing on the bot side. It's a pretty explosive matchup down there, nobody has any real escapes, and it's just AFK Sion weak side up top lane. Now, I do think Kindred may have to watch out for a potential invade entering her blue side jungle. Azir is going to be able to generate prio into the Akali early, so if MF Karma are also able to generate prio into the Draven Janna, then Graves may look for an invade on the blue buff, so Kindred will have to watch out for that. You should be paying attention to what's happening in the bot lane at all times as Kindred here. So Kindred is going to get leashed by the Camille up on top side, so enemy team is going to know she's starting red buff. And it actually looks like she is opening with red raptors into Gromp probably here, so kind of like season 12 pathing, not actually electing to take the Krugs. Graves also starting on the top side. We saw Sion arriving in lane late, so we're going to see some 3v3s down on the bot side. Okay, let's take a quick look at the lanes. So, looks like pretty even up in top side so far. Azir is generating a slow push into the Kali, getting some decent chunk down, and actually, looks like Draven Janna currently have control of the bot wave, although Janna is chunked out quite low. And Kindred is electing to open on her Gromp here. Let's see what she does after this, because it doesn't look like there's any real gank potential down onto the bot. If she is expecting a Graves gank, then she could run down there, but we already have a very, very nice ward here. This is great ward placement into the Graves. If he is going for a gank after red buff through Tribush, he'll get spotted. If he's going to hop over the wall, he'll get spotted as well, so great ward location. And it looks like Kindred is actually going for an invade onto the Graves here. She doesn't have prio mid, but she does have prio bot. This might be a little scary if Graves is coming in with maxed out grit stacks. You can see the outline is actually purple here. This is a recent change made by Riot. Wards show up as blue, camps show up as purple, and champions show up as red now. Because some of the... Okay, hold that thought. Wow, she's jumping straight in onto the Graves. He is actually max grit stacks, but she may win this just off of her red buff advantage. Right, drops the E a little bit late. Remember, your E damage is execute, so you don't want to use it too early. And she does pick up the Graves. Wow, that was really aggressive. She just hopped straight in on a full grit stack Graves. But I guess that's the buff difference, right? Okay, so great pickup by Kindred. It does look like Janna went down in the meantime, down in bot lane, though. If MF Karma go onto the Draven, Kindred can potentially gank from behind, but they should know she's here. Draven actually walked up too far. I don't think he's going to be able to pick him up here. We'll see. Yeah, he has to back out. So that was a little bit too early from the Draven. I guess he was trying to bait from for the Kindred, but Kindred kind of reset the Krugs, so she took longer there than expected. So Draven does go down, a little bit unfortunate. Kindred going onto the Crab. I guess as Graves, he could go towards his red, he could go towards the Scuttle Crab. If he's an aware jungler, he should know that one of his bot side camps is up, simply because Kindred went from 12 to 16 CS, but we're not entirely sure where Graves is here. I would expect Graves to have ran up for the top side Crab, though. Okay, bot wasn't able to crash, so Kindred actually coming back in for another gank. MF flashes out, can they get Karma? Yes, they do. Nice pickup here. Okay. Yeah, so Graves hasn't shown up in any of this, so you can kind of assume Graves went up into the top side and took the Scuttle Crab, and most likely counter-jungled the Raptor camp as well. So as Kindred here, I would probably just run straight back out to the bot side, to be honest. I would assume my Raptors are gone, maybe even the Krugs. I wouldn't even bother just running out to check this Krugs camp. We already blew the MF's flash down in bot side. Dragon is also coming up soon. So I think here, you just keep pressing your advantage, run down to the bot side. Don't bother wasting your time running up to check your top side camps. Any competent jungler would have already taken one or both camps already. Yep, so Kindred coming out bot. Looks like we have a slow push coming into the enemy bot. Azir does TP back mid. Akali hasn't backed yet, so you have to be a little bit careful on the map here. You're going to be at a bit of a disadvantage in the mid lane until Akali TP's back. Alright, and it looks like Kindred's just running straight back bot for another gank. Yep, and I think MF should go down here. Graven does go down again, that's a bit unfortunate. But she should be able to pick up Karma here as well. So very, very strong start for the Kindred. 4-0. Going to push in this wave. Next wave is here, so she's going to have to crash the entire thing. This is 530, so this is cannon wave. If this was a non-cannon wave, maybe she could just fast push this and go to Dragon. But cannon's going to take a while to clear. So maybe she just clears this wave out, and she can press in for a potential invade onto the Raptors instead. Okay, pausing this real quick. What you have to expect here as either jungler is, as the red side, there is no reason for the red side bot lane to reset back out bot. Because this wave is in tower, it's gonna take a little while for this to bounce back. There's no reason for them to run bot. They're gonna have to wait for this wave to come into them anyways. So red side bot lane can just run straight towards mid and go for any potential play onto the Azir or invade. Meanwhile, MF has to go bot. Maybe Karma can go mid, but MF has to go bot to catch this wave. So as Kindred here, you have advantage, okay? You can invade pretty aggressively. As Graves here, you have to be careful entering bot side / going for any type of play on mid. You would never want to go for a mid gank here as Graves, for example. Okay, so I would expect Kindred to go for an invade here. She does have a lot of gold as well, though, so she can look for a recall for Noonquiver soon. Okay, so it looks like she's going for an invade onto the Raptor camp, as expected. Alright, MF showing bot. Draven is here, John is here, so this should be free for Kindred. Very nice. Oh, here comes Graves. Kindred does get the smite. Azir going in and ulting. Do they just both go down? Yeah, and this is what I mean, right? Like, I mean, I guess it's kind of understandable. You walk into the bush and you see a Kindred taking your Raptor camp, so you try to get the smite steal, and then Azir sees you there, so he tries to follow in. But you have to be so careful at this level of play. You have a significant tempo disadvantage coming from the bot side. You have to expect the enemy bot is going to be running mid. So I don't think that was a good contest from the Graves and Azir. So this is looking pretty bad for blue team. This is a significant jungle gap by this point, and if Akali gets ahead of Azir, Azir may generate early push into the Akali, but once Akali has ulti, and if she's accelerated toward her rocket belt, the lane's going to start to get very, very difficult for the Azir. Okay, Kindred actually electing to stay on map here. She has a lot of gold, but not quite enough for her. Could be Kraken, could be Noonquiver. Could be Kraken or Gale Force here, actually. I'm not quite sure which one. Okay, but she did elect to stay bot side. Just play off the fact that these guys have their flashes down. Okay, Kindred is level 6, gonna pick up the MF here. She ulted to keep Draven alive. This probably just means a 1-for-1, and then she kites out this way. Yeah, doesn't look like anything else is gonna happen here. Does she have to hold this wave? Next wave is almost here. It is cannon. I think she can just recall here. Yeah, she doesn't have to hold this. Karma can't push this in quickly enough on her own. If Graves comes, this isn't going to generate a freeze. So it's good that Graves comes to push this in, but Draven's still going to be able to get back in time to clean up the whole wave. So this means that Kindred has a tempo advantage up onto the top side of the map. She can maybe look for a red, maybe an invade onto the blue buff for the mark here. She picks up the full Gale Force. Very, very strong snowball choice. Now, Kraken, of course, would be better into the Scion, but all of the champions down here are ranged, so Gale Force is going to... ranged and squishy, right? So Gale Force is going to be great for gap closing and executing onto these guys. So she's just going to play for hard snowball down on the bot side, end this game before the Scion actually scales up. It does look like Scion is absolutely dominating this Camille at the moment, though. Double her CS, and already solo kill. Okay, she does spot out the Graves here. Oh, wow, she is just going. She doesn't have ult. She does have flash up. May have to flash out. Ballsy play. Okay. He's... Well, that's the Gale Force. Insane burst right there. Very, very aggressive. Okay. Now, he does elect to drop back into his own jungle. He's a little bit low for a potential invade, but it looks like he wants to go now. Oh my goodness. I was not expecting that. Okay, just gets immediately popped out of the bush by the Scion. So that was a little bit aggressive. HP was too low. If this was Season 12 and you could heal off the camps, maybe. Season 13, the camps chunk too hard. Although I suppose even Season 12, this would be tough because Kindred not that adept at clearing AoE camps early. Kindred's just going to run back out to the bot side, and I would expect Graves to be running towards the top side to get this camp, to take the mark off the map. So what I would expect here is Graves is probably going to be playing for the mark up into a potential Herald, so Kindred could maybe look for a dragon trade down on the bot side. Now, I'm going to quickly pause here because I want to briefly talk about what you would do in this situation if you were actually matched into the enemy jungler. Because in this case, Graves and Kindred are on opposite sides of the map. They're probably just going to trade objectives, maybe trade top and bot ganks. But if they were pathing towards the same side and Kindred wasn't this far ahead of Graves, what you would want to do here is play through your mid lane. Okay? Because if you take a look at the side lane states, both side lanes are losing right now. The Camille is way behind Sion, and the Draven is a little bit behind the MF at the moment. So if you just play into the sides and the Graves is there matching, there's a pretty good chance you're actually going to lose the 3v3 on bot or the 2v2 on top side, right? That's the disadvantage of playing with weaker laners. But you have a very, very strong Akali at the moment. So if Akali is able to join on these plays, then naturally you're going to be able to win them. So when you're in this type of situation, if you're matched with the enemy jungler, you would really want to unlock your mid laner and make sure your mid laner is in a position where he's able to move with you to the side lanes. And what that comes down to is when there's waves that are crashing together mid, if your mid laner needs help to actually secure prio and get the push, then you need to hover mid. Once he gets that push in, you can move on to the side lanes with him. Okay, don't have prio mid quite yet. And it looks like she is probably itemizing into Infinity Edge second. Oh, did reset the Gromp. That's a bit unfortunate. A little bit delayed to the bot side. Okay, now real quick. You can see that the mark disappeared off the map at about 9:35. Okay, what this means, you have to understand this, both if you're a Kindred player and if you're just playing against Kindred. It's very good to understand this type of stuff. Kindred's marks appear every 45 to 50 seconds after the last mark was taken. But when a mark is taken in Fog of War, it takes 15 seconds for the mark to disappear off the map. So if this mark disappeared at 9:35, that means this blue buff was actually taken at 9:20. Okay, so if this was taken at 9:20, you would expect the next mark to appear at about 10:05, somewhere in that region. Make sense? 10:05 to 10:10. Now, in terms of what gets marked, Kindred is currently at 4 marks. When you are at 0 marks at the start of the game, the first mark is always going to be on one of the crabs. When you have 1 to 3 marks, the mark is either going to be on a crab, or the enemy raptors, or the enemy gromp. Once you have reached 4 marks, at 4 to 7 marks, your next mark will appear on one of the enemy buffs, the wolf camp, or the Krug's camp. Alright? And at 8+, it appears on neutrals, Dragon, Herald, and Baron buff. So what we see here is that Graves took the mark on the blue buff. If he's up here, he probably cleared the wolves as well. So where would the next mark spawn? On the bot side. Either on the red or the Krugs. Make sense? And I would expect it to spawn around 10:10, 10:05 to 10:10. If it doesn't appear right away, that simply means these camps haven't spawned yet. So I think here as Kindred, you see that Graves popped this cone up here. So Graves probably going to be playing for this Herald. You don't have prio top, so she's just going to be trading out this Dragon. I would then expect her to just be playing down for a potential bot gank, maybe bot dive / one of these marks. And Kindred does pick up the Dragon. It is almost 10:10. Let's see. And there it is, right? 10:05 on schedule. The enemy red buff marks here. But it does look like Kindred's hopping onto the bot lane real quick. They could potentially look for a dive here. I would expect Graves to be on the top side at the moment. Oh my god, he's just going straight in. Okay, drops the ulti. Walks back in for the heal. And massive, massive wave lost. Yeah, just really, really playing off his early pressure with the Gale Force. Blowing up that MF. Not even waiting for the wave. Just goes straight in for the dive. Okay. May be able to pick up the red buff here. Azir is showing, so I think this will be safe. Yeah. Very nice. Okay. Now, look at the timer this goes down. You cleared the Krugs, and you're getting this red buff, so 10:50. Right? You add 50 seconds, around 11:40, you would expect the next mark to be coming up on the enemy wolves. If it's not up right away, that means the wolves haven't spawned yet. Oh, man. Okay. Execute going in. MF does flash over and drops, and she's going to lose another fat wave here. So bot lane is getting absolutely decimated by this Kindred pressure. Alright. We see a TP coming in from Azir? Sion? Looks like it's Sion. I think he's too tanky to dive here. He's already at... Oh my god, he's at Tabby Sunfire. He solo killed... I didn't see if he solo killed twice or if that was coming from the Graves, but this Sion is way too tanky right now. So just play away from the Sion, especially because you elected to go Gale Force over Kraken. Just kill everyone else, right? Ignore the Sion. Okay, taking recall here probably for a BF sword. Doesn't have enough for IE quite yet. And... Let's see, what was the timer I mentioned? Around 11:40, I think? 11:40, 11:45. I would expect this wolf camp to mark, and here it is. So, as Kindred if you want to pick up this champion, you really have to learn how these marks work. Now, seeing the mark on the map doesn't mean you have to go in for the mark. Kindred is clearly not in position to go for this mark. But if you know how the marks work in relation to when they disappear off the map in Fog of War, then you can predict when the next mark comes up. You also get information on the enemy jungle location. So if we see this mark... Oh, actually, Graves appeared here, so this mark's still going to be up. That means Kindred could maybe look for a cross map into this. Okay. Graves getting collapsed on by the Janna. Does get slowed by the Glacial. Is he going to go down? I think he's okay. Yeah, Graves is going to be able to make his way out. Kindred going for the Scuttle Crab. This means that Graves is going to have the fast track up onto the Wolf Camp. So Kindred, too late to head up there. I think that it's probably better at this point for Kindred just to stay on the bot side. Pressure on this wave. See if you can dive the enemy bot lane or push them off the wave. If they greed, then you can just kill them. Yep. And if Graves ends up taking this camp, then Kindred can just play for the mark on the Krugs potentially. So she is sticking around here. Can maybe pick up a Azir. Yeah, she's looking for the Azir here. Q's over the wall, drops her W, and I think Azir should just go down. Drops the E. Nicely done. Huge damage, doesn't even need the Gale Force. Gonna get strong mid-prio here. And they could maybe go chunk some plates real quick, since plates are about to expire. Now, Graves does show up. He came from the Wolf Camp, so I'm assuming he just cleared out the Wolves. So, wow. Did they just kill him here? Oh my god. Look at the damage. Okay, there's the Gale Force value. Okay, so the thing is here, if you have HP here, you can just sprint across and maybe look for this Krugs camp, because the next mark is going to come up on these Krugs, but he's 1 HP, the enemy bot has prio, so I think it's safer just to recall here. Oh my god. I just got deja vu right there. I thought Sion was going to pick him up again. He does manage to pick up the full IE. He's not even waiting for his HP here. He's just running straight back out onto the map. He's a little bit too off-tempo to go for the mark on the Krug, so he's probably just going to give this up. And then the next mark would probably be respawning on the blue buff. Okay. He is at 6 marks. Yeah. Going to pick up the red buff here. Could maybe chase down the Sion. He doesn't have Kraken, so it's going to take a while. But he is extremely strong. Gale Force IE does have red buff. I think he'll be able to chase this down. Nah, looks like he's not going to try. Okay. He is sticking around, though. So maybe Sion overcommits. Waits out the Sion Q. And I think this will be a dead Sion unless Graves happens to be in the area. Let's see. Oh, Graves is spot. Okay. Flashes in. Does get knocked up, but I think that he should just be able to get this with the next Q. Gonna have to drop the ulti. Sion's gonna chase down. I think you have to just keep running here. Can he get out? Q. Oh, that was close. That was close. Okay. Now, the next mark is gonna be on this blue buff because it looks like... I didn't see the timer because we were watching the top fight, but it should come up on the blue buff soon. He could potentially look for it, but he is quite low, so it may be better just to take the recall, spend his gold, and play in for the dragon next. Let's see. There's the mark. And it looks like he is playing for this. All right. Let's see here. Goes for the crab first. Doesn't have any support on this side of the map, so he will have to be a little bit careful if someone shows up. Not a good time to take a potential fight. Just take this crab, or sorry, take this mark and get out. Very nice. Okay. Not quite enough for his next item yet. Dragon is up. He is at 8 marks by this point, so you don't have to play the camp minigame anymore. All of the marks are going to be on the objectives. So next mark is going to spawn on either the dragon or the Rift Herald if it comes up in time. Sometimes you can actually delay the objective take on Kindred. Like for example, if the mark, if you could go for the dragon right now, you might want to just delay it by like 15-20 seconds for the mark to come up. But that being said, once you're at 8 marks, you're already so powerful that you don't have to play too heavily for marks anymore. You can just kind of play standard. She already has so much attack speed, so much damage, so much attack range. You don't have to keep focusing on marks and just tunneling them in the entire game. Oh, she does go down here. That's a little bit unfortunate. That's the problem with going Gale Force over Kraken. You're just not going to do much damage to the Sion. It's better if you play away from the Sion when possible here. Graves does go down as well, though, so I don't think either jungler is going to be able to pick up the dragon here, so both junglers going to be coming out on reset. Going to be interesting to see where they go. Rift Herald ends up being marked here, so maybe Kindred heads up towards the top side. He does elect to go for a Vamp Scepter here, so he's either building into Blade of the Ruined King or a BT. If he feels like Sion is becoming a really big problem, then he's probably building a Bork for the Sion. But if he's just focusing on these squishies, then I think BT might be a little bit better. Give some crit, right? Gonna have really strong upfront damage, and the shield is gonna be quite nice for survivability. I think that it's probably better just go for BT here, to be honest. But I could see Bork for sure. Okay. Kali going in, and wow, these guys just get collapsed on. Here comes Sion, does pick up the Akali, but I think this is just gonna be the chase down. Right? Karma flashes out over the wall, but Sion does go down here. Now, you do actually have the option of sprinting towards topside and taking this Rift Herald mark, and then kind of taking recall, running back out for Dragon, because I don't think enemy's going to be able to rush this Dragon with this much vision down on the bot side. But again, just to reiterate, you don't really have to play too hard for marks at this moment, but that is a potential option. Alright, that being said, Kindred does have Vamp Scepter, so he's going to be able to vamp up off this Dragon and the Scuttle, and there's also going to be the healing off the camps, right? So I think he can actually just rush towards topside and go straight in for this Herald, because Karma is still dead. Camille does not have TP, does need to take a recall. Azir is showing bot, though, so maybe they can just look for this. MF is showing on mid-wave. Looks like he's trying to hunt the MF, actually. Here he goes. Does MF greed? And she does. So MF should go down to the Kindred here. Yeah, just stalking her out. So no need for a contested fight onto the Rift Herald. He just picks it up for free. Nice job. MF did not have support there. Tanky Sion is here. Gonna have to kite this out a little bit, but I think this should be their... Oh, maybe not. Scratch that. Kindred getting jumped on. Kiting out. Is dropping quite low. I think she lives here. I think she lives. There's not enough damage left. Okay, and they pick up the Herald as well. And yeah, this game is looking pretty won for red team by this point. Kindred is at how many marks? 10 marks. Jesus. If she gets one more mark, I think it's at 4 marks, 7 marks, 10 marks. No. She already has it. Yeah, after 4 marks, every 3 marks, she gets another 25 range. So 10 marks is another great breakpoint. Next big breakpoint would be at 13 marks, which is pretty unrealistic in most games. This game does look pretty over, though. Okay, and they should just look for the reset here. Kindred are going to be able to pick up a full 3rd item, and then they can just play in for the Baron. Akali is the one with TP, so we could see Akali shifting down to the bot side and Camille up to the top side. That being said, Camille TP is coming up soon, so they could go either way with it, right? Kindred just hopping over the wall. This is a little bit of a dangerous timer, though. A lot of enemy members are missing, but he just does so much damage, he doesn't care. He picks up the Graves before anybody can make their way over. They could even just look for a Baron right now. Oh, here comes Azir. Flashes the Azir ult. Can he chase him down? Doesn't have Gale Force up. Does go down to the Azir. So a little bit too ballsy there. And it looks like Akali went down simultaneously. But it should be okay. And enemy team also dropped 2. They're not going to be able to respond with anything here, so it's just going to be a reset. Draven going to be able to pick up mid-turret. Kindred, quite curious to see what item she actually picks up here. Bork, BT. Looks like he can't decide. Okay, he's just refunding. He's not quite sure either. Yeah, I could see either one. I think I would just go for the Bork, for the BT here, though. Because it just adds so much safety, and you get some more upfront damage off the crit. I don't think you have to worry too much about the Sion by this point when your team is just this far ahead. I would rather itemize for everybody else. Now, these guys are going quite aggressive, given that their 2 most fed members in Akali and Kindred are not on the map. So I don't like what I'm seeing here. I think they should just play safe, but the game is pretty won by this point, to be honest. Kindred picking up the red buff, and they should just be playing vision up here. Drop some vision control, drop some control wards up here, and play in for the Baron. Just waiting in bush. Maybe you can just hop onto the Graves here. Nice. And this should be free. Man, look at that damage. We have a TP coming in. And this might actually be the end of the game. No Baron at all. They maybe can just push in here. Let's see. Yeah, but this is just a slaughter at this point. This Kindred is way too far ahead. Just jumping straight in. Oh my goodness. This guy is so confident in his mechanics. Yeah, there's no Baron necessary at all. He's just killing the entire enemy team 2v5. Disgusting. There it is. And that should just be GG. Let's see. Looks like it does stall out. Enemy does get respawns, but I think we can tell this is over by this point. So I'm just going to fast forward through the rest of the game. Nothing too special going to happen, I'm assuming. Yep, they reset back out. His team is just egoing in base. They run in. Not quite able to end here. You can see they're just kind of fooling around. And yeah, there's the end of the game. Alright. Wow. Absolute nuke coming in from Bo, 21, 3, and 11. I was quite shocked when I saw him just queue straight in onto the Graves. I thought that might be a little bit more of an even fight with the full grit stacks on the Graves, but I guess the red buff difference was just too strong there. He held the E very, very well. A lot of newer Kindred players don't use her E very well. They just panic and drop it right away. But remember, it's an execute damage. It's kind of like Lee Sin's Q2. You want to drop it a little bit later when the enemy drops low on HP. Then he kind of played pretty heavily down into the bot side. He didn't contest every single mark. Some Kindreds are just like, they're just playing whack-a-mole, man. They see a mark and they run for the mark. But if you're too slow on tempo to reach there, or you don't have prio in the area, you could just be running into your doom. So he gave up marks when appropriate. He clearly understood where the next marks were going to be spawning, right? And he just played for the next mark spawns instead. If you don't know, if you need a refresher on which marks are going to be spawning at what times on what camps, you can head on to the wiki and take a look, and it'll list it in her passive. Again, 0 marks, it's going to be on Crab. 1 to 3, it's going to be on Crab, enemy Raptors, or enemy Gromp. 4 to 7, it's going to be on the enemy Buffs, Wolves, or Krugs. And at 8+, it's going to be on the neutral objectives. Alright, monster game from Bo here. Thanks for watching. A quick reminder that I do coach over at nice.gg if you want to check that out. The link is in the video description below. As always, a big thank you to my patrons for helping to make this channel possible.